Bismillah, I'll try and be brief. I sang deliberately Lizali Sidinga Lako. And I think Lizali Sidinga Lako, by my definition, is Islamic in its content and meaning. And perhaps where we should begin is to unpack what we mean by Islamic. Many things that are framed as Islamic have a signature of Islam as a label. In reality, they are not Islamic, if we buy into that definition of Islamic. And so perhaps we need to move beyond being trapped in forms, and look for the core, internal meanings of the things that we say, utter, sing, that might be said to be un-Islamic because they do not express in Arabic, they do not recite the normal vocabulary and metaphors that we are familiar with in the so-called Islamic idioms. I listen sometimes to a Tijaniya wird that is read by Tijaniyas from West Africa. It resonates with me. And I listen to a litany that might be recited perhaps in a church. And it also resonates with me because it glorifies the Almighty. Is it Islamic or un-Islamic? For me, it is Islamic based on the content and the meaning because it speaks about the divine. Lastly, I've had an opportunity to read and study, amongst other things that I do, the poetry of Mputana Wabofelu. In philosophy, when you read philosophy, you read some of the poetry, it is expressed in the day-to-day normal language of the material world. And some of the poetry, if you read it on surface, might not be classified and described as Islamic poetry per se. He'll correct if I'm wrong. But I was reading that poetry as an interest observer of Black African Muslim subjectivity beyond the narrative of conversion and the things that we are talking about here. What do Black Muslims do, say, write to express a sense of who they are without seeking recognition and approval by anybody else, but being true to themselves? You might agree or disagree, but for me, I think that's where we need to be. What is Islamic? Is the food that we eat that is injurious and harmful to our body, but is labeled as Islamic, not un-Islamic. There was a big saga in Cape Town about meat that was stamped and approved by respected halal bodies, only to find out they are selling pork.